Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video I will show you 3 things you might not know about close air support. And I just want to start by saying that I think most of you have a pretty good idea about how CAS at least should work. However, I was a bit unsure about a few mechanics myself, and I played this game since 2016, since it came out. And since I had that doubt about a few things, I thought, well, there must be a few of you out there that share the same doubt as I have. So I did a lot of testing, and I actually found a few things that I think most of you will find, hopefully, will find quite interesting. At least I did. So that's what I'm going to share with you. I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show you is how CAS prioritize which battle to engage in. And it's actually quite straightforward. There are 2 things that factor into this. The first one, which is the first one in priority, so to speak, is how close is the fight to the airbase where the air wing is flying from. And that's the one that affects this decision making the most. And the second one is how big are the engagement. So there might be a bigger engagement further away that still pulls the CAS into that fight, that over prioritizes the proximity to the airbase, so to speak. But let's do some testing. So in this scenario, I have 100 CAS here in Western Poland flying from this airbase, and I will take one fight here and I will take one fight here, and they are equally big now engaging. So I'm gonna unpause, and then we're gonna let them run a little bit, and then we're gonna see how much the CAS engage into these both battles by seeing how much damage it's done, basically. So now we've been roughly halfway through, and then the closest one, it's done 23 org damage and 14 strength damage, and the one further away, 1 org and 1 strength damage. And I did a lot of testing for this over and over again, and sometimes it does a little bit more to the one further away, but it's usually quite similar. The closer you are to the base, they pretty much fly there all the time. However, if you have more CAS, so you overload, and they cannot all engage into one fight, they will then spread out, of course, and prioritize battles further away, depending on how many you have. But in this scenario, at least they flew only a little bit out to the outer fight. So let's do another test then, because the second factor was how bigger engagement pull the CAS into those fights instead. So now we will take more divisions into the tile further away. Unpause. And there we go. Now we'll take 7 divisions, attack here, those 10, and then the same. Oh, and the same to the one close again. Yes, get some org up. Yeah, so 2 versus 2, and then 7 versus 10. And see how this plays out. So 2 fights again, and let it run a little bit, so we'll see how much damage we've done. So the one closest, 13 and 8, and the one further away, 17 and 9. So still, even though the one further away is having 17 divisions fighting, and the one closest is the same, 4 divisions fighting, they're now quite even. And I've done this over and over again, and it ends up quite similar every time. So you really need really big battles to make the CAS prioritize a battle further away from the ones closest to the airbase. Alright, so the second thing I'm going to show you is basically looking at how many CAS can enter a battle and how many CAS does enter a battle. And let me explain. So right now we have the same fight we looked at before. 2 of my divisions are fighting 2 Polish divisions. And I have 100 close air support planes on mission here. So 100 CAS flying. In this battle, I only have 82 of my planes actually entering the battle out of my 100. So how many can enter a battle? In this case, it's determined by how broad the width is of of the enemy divisions in this fight. So this size, 36 combat width, determines how many planes in total can enter the battle. And also the terrain has an effect of this. So planes doesn't give any modifiers, but the 36 sums up to a total of 108 planes that actually could enter this battle. However, I only have 100 on mission, but of my 100 planes, only 82 are actually entering the battle. So why is that? And it's actually quite simple. Because if I hover down here, the close air support mission, I see that I have 81.9% efficiency. So even though my 100 planes on mission here actually are well within range, they only have 82% efficiency, which means that only 82% of them will actually make a sortie into a battle. So let's change to another plane type. So instead of having those 100 CAS, I will fly with 100 tactical bombers instead, that has much bigger range. And then you see the mission air efficiency is up to 100%. And if I look at the fight, 100 of them will enter the fight instead of the 82 of the CAS. So basically, the easy way to think about this is that even though it looks like your CAS has range to the battle, you have to also look at the air efficiency and, of those air wings. And range is the biggest factor that plays into air efficiency. But there are also a lot of modifiers like weather advisors and also doctrines and so on that can affect this. But yeah, it can make a big difference. So tactical bombers can sometimes be much more effective than you think they are. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to show you is basically a thing I think many of you overlook, at least I did until quite recently when I learned this, but it is that close air support does not only do the damage up here on org and strength that is coming from ground attack. So the ground attack stat that is on your tactical bombers or your CAS, because that's the thing you usually think about when you use CAS for missions. But CAS also have two other very important factors that play into this, and that is that they also give your attacking divisions something called air support, and that is capped to 25%, a positive buff, but then you can top that up with advisors and doctrines. So in this case I have 27.7 on both my breakthrough when attacking, my hard attack, and my soft attack. On top of that, CAS also give you air superiority in the zone where you use them. So that means the negative, the debuff on your enemy's defense or your enemy's breakthrough also comes from your tactical bombers or your CAS on close air support mission. In this case, I also have the maximum here, 35%. 100 CAS doesn't do 35% like this, but I also have some fighters on air superiority. The point is that if you have many CAS enough and your enemy is not disturbing you, they also factor into the air superiority stat. So not only your fighters, but your CAS as well. It does only show when they are actively flying. So when you look at the zone, your fighters will always give you air superiority. But as soon as there's a fight, all your CAS or any tactical bombers on CAS missions will also factor into that air superiority stat and give the enemy a debuff on air superiority. So in summary, CAS does not only do ground attack and damage to the enemy divisions, but they also buff your own soldiers and they debuff your enemy soldiers together with the fighters you have. Alright, that was everything this time. I really hope you guys liked it. If you want to have more guides from us, please hit the subscribe button and you will receive a guide every Monday. And if you become a Patreon, you will also receive a guide every second Thursday that is exclusive for our patrons. Lastly, I just want to make a huge shout out to our studio. You guys are really amazing, casting games, our multiplayer games for is it 8, 10 hours straight without any breaks is just so amazing. You entertain everyone, and yeah, if you haven't watched it, you should really check out our multiplayer content here in the channel, and you will see what I'm talking about. PD, Victor, Olof, everyone, hats off for your work. You guys really rock. Yeah, that was everything this week. Check us out next week. Thank you.